the artist never depicts Liriko nastily, even in the scenes in which she finds signs of her body's deterioration. But as the story unfolds, it becomes impossible for the readers to tell if Liriko is beautiful or not. Next, please. Liriko's provocative body reveals society's obsession with female beauty and problematizes the border between beauty and ugliness. Leaving behind a single eyeball in a black soaked hotel room, Liriko vanishes. Next, please. As a freak, she becomes a myth and a legend, fulfilling her final promise to Mama. At the end of the story, Liriko, Hada, and Okumura are seen at a freak show in Mexico. This is the end of the story. Next, please. Through the examinations of some female fiction in the 1990s, it is clear that these works express women's questioning and resistance to gender and or sexual norms in Japanese society. The first case concerning the girl's culture and gender role around 1990 sows seeds in the hearts of the young readers, waiting for their awakening without making a loud statement. The work also traces the transformation of the image of an ideal couple and family, doubting the lovely wife, Suteki Naoki-san, as the goal of a girl's life. The two cases that focus on young women as freaks, one with a penis growing out of her big toe, the other a plastic surgery beauty, reveal the sexual norms and social demands of Japanese society in the 1990s. The challenges of these female voices are still stimulating and thought provoking as ways of criticizing the situation of the society. Thank you very much. Yeah,
Thank you very much.
next two slides are, the references. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Noriko Hiraisi. Please give a big applause for Professor Noriko. It was a very interesting presentation. I just not shocked, but well, it opened my mind about this kind of gender relation with the culture. And I have one of my host sister in Japan. Her name is Rika. Probably my host mother gave her name Rika, inspired from the Maki Miyako manga. I'm not so sure. I need to ask her about this, but probably. Very nice. We already have one question from our participant. Let me read it from Ibu Rima from Universitas Andalas. Thank you for your insightful presentation. My research is about a Japanese family, especially in Ogawa Yoko's novel. Ogawa doesn't mention the function of a father almost in all her work. In Japanese society nowadays, what is the role of the father in the family? And the role of the father described in the contemporary novel and manga? Okay, I think we only have one question. I leave you to answer it while we are waiting for other questions. Please.
Okay,
Please,
thank
Professor.
you. Yeah, thank you very much, Ibu Rima, for an interesting question. It is very important in Japanese society as a role of the father in the family. And actually, as we've seen in our, cases or the case of Ogawa Yoko, Ibu Rima has presented yesterday, there are no signs of father. Or in in Melon there was two fathers, but they are very silent in the family. And actually, this is a problem of Japanese society, and Japanese literature depicts the absence of fathers in the literature as well, in the family. Uh, as we have seen in my talk, the Japanese society created, the modern, ur- especially urban families that, husband works outside and wife keeps house, instead. And the, the working hours of working fathers are really long. You know, uh, for example, and common uh, white workers in urban city in Japan leave house leaves house at 7 o'clock and come back to house in 10 or 11 at the night. So, in if the life goes on like this, the father can't, you know, uh, can participate the, in the home, at the house, or they can't do uh, anything at home, or raise the children. It's always the mother's. It always considered as the role of mothers. So, in Japanese literature as well, the father is absent from the family's descriptions, and that is it's a very important issue in Japanese family and the depiction of Japanese family as well. And maybe we don't have much time to discuss about that, but um, the new writers, or in this century, there are, the new type of family novels or stories have appeared with, more um, more concerning father, or a man who is very keen to these family thing. So, it's changing, but still, the absence of father is a, an important issue in Japanese society and Japanese literature as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor. We have other two questions for you. Let me read it from Ibu Lina Rosliana from Universitas.
About the target is the reader, or the representations. I'm a bit confused.
Um,
Yeah.
yes. Um, my question is, what is the important things that we
Mhm.
must analyze if we try to analyze feminism in literary works? Because in Indonesia,
Mhm.
I mostly find feminism uh, research
Mhm.
only based on image and stereotype of women. to be analyzed. So, in your opinion, what are the other important things maybe that we can analyze if we try to research feminism in literary works? Thank you.
Um, when you use the feminist theory to analyze literary works, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but in the literary works, it is true that um, you know the representations are all some images of the old a stereotype of the society, right? So um, I think it's very important to analyze these cases or these depictions um, and using also some gender sexual theories will be very useful. And um, what do you want to know? What else other than images or stereotypes?
Yeah. If we analyze women reading women literary works, uh, the we will always see the images and stereotype only. So, is there any important things that we can dig deeper in our research?
Yes, I think the description written by women. We when we are going to talk about you know women, um, it is very you know it, for example, in Japanese literature, the writings of the men's writings and women's writings are different. It's very different. Not as on the surface, it's not that different, but we when we dig up, it's very different. The voices are very different, and some female writers hide their opinions uh, very in their writings. So when we dig up these cases, it is apparent that um, the female voices or the sometimes hidden female voices are very important um, to analyze and to uh, you know to shed light on these voices. So and they are we must say the writings the female writings are also the some images of women, for example, or men, some images or some stereotypes. But it's worse. I think um, it's worth studying. Yeah, and talking about the theory, maybe it is a bit difficult to use to use Western theories to for example, Japanese literature or maybe Indonesian literature, because as Matsuda talked, the situation is a bit different and the culture is different. So it's not always it's not always useful to use Western feminist theory to Japanese or maybe Indonesian literature. So we have to be careful not to always refer to the feminist theory to when we analyze our literature. Is this the answer to your
Okay.
question?
Yeah.
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 Thank you, Sensei. Hontoni, 参考になりました。
Yeah.
ありがとうございました。
Pak Moderator Bumin.
Thank you, Bu Lydia. Yeah.
Bumin,
Okay. I have a
Raisen,
Yeah.
Bumin.
Okay, Prof. Min. Before you ask your question directly to Prof. Noriko Hiraishi, we already had two questions that already submitted from our participants. Let me read the question first, and then I will give you a chance to ask Professor Noriko directly. Okay?
Okay.
So, two questions, Professor. Yeah. First, from Umi Oktiari from Universitas Riau, there is a trend of being single or unmarried
choices nowadays, the only choice for the girls was to become a wise mother, good wife and wise mother. So the problem is it was the only, it only go for the girls. So now we have choices. So we just be single and married woman, or if you like, you want, uh, you marry to someone and raise children, it's a good choice as well. And the full-time housewives are not to be banned. We should not ban the full-time housewives, but we should give the choices to the young girls or young boys. You know, I think even boys can be, you know, a, a boy's choice could be a house, house husband. Yeah, I think it's a good choice as well. So it's not force someone to do something, or to get works or something like that. But I think we should um, show multiple choices in as many as possible to the young boys and girls. Yeah, thank you.
Wow, very fruitful discussion about gender roles in Japanese family. But I got a special request from Prof. Min Ratu Uju, sorry. She wants to ask you directly to you. Please, Professor Min. Your microphone still mute, Prof.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
please.
Okay. I'm Min Ratu Uju from Associate of Women, Gender and Children. Based of based on experience, sexual deviation tend to be considered normal in the world, included in Indonesia and included in my province, is Nusa Tenggara province. What are the efforts to prevent or to reduce so that abnormal generation do not occur in the Japan and of course in the world? Thank you. Simple question.
Yeah, thank you for your question, Professor. And I think this is this normal this notion of normal and abnormal. Um, in I just um, uh, worked on some literary, some imaginations and literary works, and but I think the notion of normal and abnormal is um, sh- you know it's it's kind of some um, the result of some education, right? So um, I I think it's the normality and abnormality in this in the gender or in the society should be questioned once, and we should just find the answer uh, with ourselves. I think it's a very complicated problem. I know with the relation with the society or culture or religion, and I would like to respect all the values in the world. I don't want to you know just stop to say normal or abnormal and so on, but I'd like to show the choices. In my case, it's in Japanese society or in Japanese culture to choose what is normal and abnormal. There should be a choices to decide what is normal or abnormal ourselves. Yeah, that's my opinion. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank
Thank you
you
very
very
much.
much, Professor
Thank you.
Noriko Hiraishi.
Thank you very much.
Very interesting discussion, I think, but we have a very limited time and we are already run out of time. So actually, there are some questions for you, Professor, in the chat box and
Mhm.
some expression from our audience. I think you may read the comments and from the chat box. They are very impressive by your speech. Thank you very much for the speech. Um, I think we can end our first session. Are you still stay with us until afternoon? Yeah, because at the end of the session, we deliver a certificate for you as our appreciation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you
So,
very much.
ladies and gentlemen, please give
Yeah.
a big
Thank
applause
you.
for
And
Professor
I
Noriko before we go
yeah,
to.
I'll
Yep.
answer the question, the left questions on chat box, right?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
good, good.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
please,
Thank
please.
you.
You
Thank you
may
so much.
continue the discussion on the chat box with the audiences. Okay, thank you very much, Professor Noriko Hiraishi.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, now we are come to the second session of our morning session, we will have the second keynote speaker, Professor Alimatul Kiptia. Assalamualaikum, Ibu.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Alhamdulillah.
Alimatul,
Sorry to take your time.
sehat.
Alhamdulillah. It's nice to see you. Very this morning. I believe that your speech about prospects and challenge to fulfill women's rights in Indonesia will be very interesting this morning. So before I give you time for your speech, please allow me to read your profile. Okay, operator. Operator, could you help me with okay. Professor Alimatul Kiptia, MSc, ME, PhD. She is a professor in gender studies in Islamic communication at the Islamic State University, Indonesia, Yogyakarta, Indonesia, up until now. And she is the director of Center for Women Studies, Sunan Kalijaga, Yogyakarta, from 2014 until 2015. And she's the commissioner for Komnas Perempuan 2020 to 2024. And she got a bestseller book, the title Feminism Muslim in Indonesia in 2019. Next. Oops. Next, please. And her research interests are about Muslim gender studies, Islamic Indonesian feminists, and sexual gender, and also women's movements in Indonesia. She got some outstanding achievements in 2020. She was an invited speaker on International Scientific Conference on the topic Imam Abu Mansur Maturidi and Maturidiya Doctrine, the past and the present in Uzbekistan. She was an invited speaker on the first two-day International Serah Conference in Zahara University, Masera, Pakistan. And in 2018, she was an invited speaker on the second international conference, Islam in Modern Secular State and Kyrgyzstan. Next. Oops, sorry, it's a bit slow. Next. Okay. In 2017, with the poster presenter and oral presentation on International GS program on female leadership and higher education management in developing countries, German. And in the same year, as a resource person at international conference and workshop on beyond coexistence in plural societies between Jakarta and Notre Dame, America, I think. And the last, in 2016, she was the resource person on International Conference on Islam and Human Rights in Sunan Kalijaga. I think that's all about your profile, Professor. You have 30 minutes to present your paper, and then we will have about 50 minutes for discussion. Time is yours, Professor Alimatul.
Thank you very much, Ibu Fani. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sehat, and also we hope that we are all in healthy condition. Thank you very much for the committee, Andalas University, who have the great conference, collaboration with ICGCS and also other stakeholders. This conference is very fruitful yesterday I also joined the conference, and hopefully today also we have a fruitful conference. Okay, let me share my screen. The topic relating to the women's right. Yeah, prospect and challenge to fulfill women's right in Indonesia. There are four titles, four topics that I'm going to discuss today. First of all, relating to introduction of Komnas Perempuan, and then women rights and problem. And the third is prospect to fulfill women's right in Indonesia. And the last one is challenge the women's right in Indonesia. For first time, I will introduce about Komnas Perempuan, National Commission on Violence Against Women. This institution established in response to strong public demand, especially from women, for the state to take responsibility for violence against women. Subsequent to sexual attacks, including mass rape against Chinese women during May 1998 riots. So at that time, maybe we were there. It was very sad that in 1998 there is a riot, and in some places there are many victims who are raped by the people who are unhumanized. Yeah, so we try to propose to President Habibie to have a Komnas Perempuan. This Komnas Perempuan national mechanism to protect women's human rights, established by presidential decree in 1998. There are 2 mandates and 5 tasks. Yeah, first, to build a conducive environment for the elimination of all forms of violence against women, and the second, to increase prevention effort against all forms of violence against women, protection and fulfillment of women's rights in Indonesia. There are 5 tasks. First, promote public awareness relating the issue of fulfillment of human rights. And the second one, research and review the regulation laws that do not accommodate the women's right issues, and also monitor and report relating to issue and provide input and recommendation to all stakeholders, including to the government and also the international cooperation. This is the introduction of Komnas Perempuan, and then we going to the problem of women's report from Komnas Perempuan last year that there is increasing number violence against women that reported directly to Komnas Perempuan, although nationally decreased. Why it was decreased last year? Yeah, because there are around 50% of institutions do not submit. Did not submit the survey, so that's why it's decreased the number. But the reported directly to Komnas Perempuan is increased. If we look at the violence against women 2020 from 120 institutions, the trend still like last year, which is the riskiest violence against women in personal and private level. Yeah, there are around 79%. Yeah, in the case of personal and also relating to the private level of violence against women. In the previous year, cases of violence against women at the personal level were around 75%. So there are 4% increase in 2020. If we look at the digital life, there are very significant increase on online-based gender violence in 2020. from the report from 120 institutions, yeah, there are 329 cases. Previous years is only 35 cases. So it means there are 920% increase in online gender-based violence at the domestic violence and personal level compared to the previous year. Relating to the direct report to Komnas Perempuan, also there is significantly increase from 281 cases to 942 cases. This is something that a new phenomenon because of pandemic. So the gender-based violence online is increased significantly. If we're talking about issue that sexual violence cases are the highest, in the public domain. The second one is psychology and economy and physics. So sexual violence is the highest cases in public domain. This pattern are always the same in every year. If we look at to the sexual violence in public domain, I think rape is also very high, and sexual harassment and others. Others is very high because in our laws, is still not cover the variety of sexual violence. So still accommodate a certain type of sexual violence. And who are the perpetrators? Friends is the hires, and then strangers, and even teachers, work boss, and some of them also there are a religious leader. And if we look at the other research, from InFit research, for example, there are still blaming the victim and gender stereotype. For example, from the survey, if we look at that women are raped or sexual harassed because of women clothing, this is according to the society still 70%. It means the society still believe that the rape and also the sexual violence, other sexual violence is because of women. This is something that we have to tackle this kind of problem. And in the level of education, the sexual violence reported to Komnas Perempuan, university is the highest compared to other institution of education, compared to other education institution. So the university is the highest based on the Komnas Perempuan report. Now, the third one, we're talking about the prospect to fulfill women's rights in Islam. Based on these issues that we already discussed, so how the prospect to fulfill women's rights in Islam, in Indonesia. Before that, we need to know that there are international convention on women's rights, as we know all here, as women activists in this conference, that Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, or CEDAW, the principle of equal right between men and women. There are 6 chapters and also 30 articles in the convention. Indonesia has ratified CEDAW in 1984, and the main task of CEDAW participating countries like in Indonesia is to periodically report on the implementation on the convention. The CEDAW committee report to women's crucial issue in the form of general recommendations. So there are GR, there are GR. One example of GR, General Recommendation number 35, that relating to gender-based violence against women. Updating General Recommendation number 19. Hello?
Yes, we can hear your voice.
Hello?
Yes, you may continue, Prof. Can you hear us?
Oh, okay. Yes.
we
I
can
thought that
hear
I
you
was
clearly.
bad signal. Yeah. Okay, so I can
Okay.
go continue. Okay.
Okay.
Roots of gender-based violence against women in the general recommendation number 35. The ideology, so in this recommendation, identify some the root cause, of why women get violence. The ideology of men's right and superiority over women's, and also social norms about masculinity, the need to assert men control or power, and enforce or prevent certain gender roles, and prevent or punish what is considered women's behavior, which is unacceptable. So this general recommendation inform us that we have to identify the main cause of gender-based violence in the society that we have to pay attention and have to handle about this problem. Now, obligation of state parties, pursue by all appropriate means and without delay a policy of eliminating discrimination against women, including gender-based violence against women. So delay or penundaan, delay cannot be justified for any reason, including economic, cultural, or religious reason. For example, we have the bill of RUU penghapusan kekerasan seksual, the bill of sexual violence, for example, until today we still encourage to the parliament to discuss and issue the bill, but and according to this regulation, the country, the state, they cannot delay because of economic, cultural, or religious reason. There is no acceptable, unacceptable if the government will delay because of this economic, cultural, and religious reason. So the government and the parliament has to pass the bill of sexual violence law, and also have to do diligent obligation for acts or omission of non-state government as well. State actors strengthen the implementation of state obligation in relating to gender-based violence against women, either within their territory or extra territory. The committee reaffirms its call for state party to ratify the optional protocol to the convention and examines all remaining objection to the convention with a view to their withdrawal. Indonesia haven't ratified the optional protocol to the convention. We always encourage the government, Indonesian government, to ratify the optional protocol. What is different if we ratify that? If we ratify the optional protocol, people, community, society can directly report to the Komite SIDO, if there is any case. If the government doesn't do anything, and then the victim can also report directly to the Komite SIDO. The other convention, the other international law that always encourage the gender equality is Beijing Declaration and platforms for action. The fourth World Women's Conference in Beijing produced 12 critical areas, and every 5 years each country had to report its progress. Indonesia, as one of the countries that participated in ratifying SIDO, along with other countries that have also agreed on BPFA, is obligated to make review of the implementation of BPFA since 1995. Each review will produce an output document that promotes a global commitment to empowering women and girls and emphasize priority action for the 5 next year. So this is the 12 areas of concern that we have to pay attention, which is there is women and poverty, education and training of women, women and health, violence against women, women and arms conflict, women and the economy, women in power and decision making. I think in the number 7 we are quite happy right now because the number of women rector has increased. Yeah, hopefully will have additional will increase. Yeah, the number of female rector in Indonesia more significantly. And the eighth institutional mechanism for the enforcement of women, this is the Komnas Perempuan in number 8, and human rights of women, women and the media, and women and the environment, and the girl child. So this is 12 critical area of concern according to a Beijing platform for action that we have to pay attention on it. Women's constitutional right in Komnas Perempuan, we have 40 constitutional with 14 cluster, yeah. Right to citizenship, right to life, right to self-development, right to freedom and thought and freedom of choice, right to information, right to work and decent life, right to ownership and housing, and the right to health and healthy environment, family rights, the right to legal assurance and justice, right to be free from threat, discrimination, and violence, right to protection, right to fight for right, and right to government. So there are 14 clusters from 40 constitutional right that has to women, part of the women's right as well in Indonesia. In Indonesia, laws relating to the fulfillment of human rights, there are some of them, like the constitution itself, and also there is political right for women, the quota, and CEDAW ratification, human right, and also gender mainstreaming and domestic violence law. This is the gender mainstreaming and at region, and also human trafficking, and still many, yeah. Laws relating to the fulfillment of human rights in Indonesia. Now, what we are going to do about this kind of issue, not only strengthening the laws, but also strengthening the egalitarian culture and also moderate progressive interpretation. As we know that there are still many ways of thinking, interpretation, and belief that put women as not worth and even under men. This has an impact on suffering for women, such as women being discriminated against and unfair treatment, and also promote the acceptability of house husband trend. I think the previous speaker also mentioned, yeah, about the house husband, yeah, in Japan. So in Indonesia now, I and my team conducting research in Jogja and also in Ponorogo about the trend of house husband, trend bapak rumah tangga. Now we are in process of interviewing after having a survey. We also promote the idea that able to giving birth is given, but how many children and how will deliver is construction, so social construction. So we cannot push, yeah, women to have more baby if they don't want it. It doesn't always put women as user, like in the previous research from Infit, yet that rape is because of women's clothing, for example. We try to deconstruct the idea that not put women as a user. Adam and Eve got the same quality of temptation from the Satan as mentioned in the Quran from a theological perspective. And also, men and women were created from the same substance to create prosperity in this world. This is based on the Surat An-Nisa, and women have the same potential to achieve achievement as mentioned in Surat An-Nisa as well. Men and women will be punished for their mistake. Yeah, men and women are both Khalifah or leader in the earth. This is something that we have to promote in the society to tackle the violation of women's rights. The urgency of women's rights in Indonesia in case of sexual violence at university. Ratification of sexual violence policy as an effort to prevent and handle cases of sexual violence that are more structured, systematic, and planned in all academic communities. encouraging the victim can speak without pressure. There is no blaming the victim and also no humiliation. Take action against perpetrator in according with the basis of justice. So the spirit actually not repetition ya, non-repetition, tidak ada pengulangan the spirit actually. So it's always not to be imprisoned or sentenced to the jail. Leaders have a legal basis to create a safe and comfortable campus free from all form of violence. Komnas Perempuan experience involving women's rights in the issue of sexual violence at the university. As we know that in Komnas Perempuan has collaboration with Ministry of Religious Affairs. In 2019, the Ministry of Religious Affairs issued the decree about the prevention and handling the sexual violence at university. And until June 2021, in university based on religious university in Ministry of Religious Affairs, especially from Islamic University, there are 10 university who get the rector decree, which is Jogja, Batu Sangkar, Lampung, Mataram, Cirebon, Tulung Agung, Jember, Pekalongan, Purwokerto, and Lampung. We hope that the number will increase from the other university. Program on progress strengthening culture and system violence free campus. Beside collaboration with Ministry of Religious Affairs, Komnas Perempuan also collaborating with Education Department in Muhammadiyah, NU, Catholic and Christian University. Inshallah, in the middle of September, we will issue the regulation in that organization. Also, collaborating with the Education Department at Catholic, Christian, Hindu, and Buddhist University at the Ministry of Religion. So not only Islamic institution, but also other religious institution at university. And also cooperating with the Ministry of Education, Research, Culture, and Technology to strengthen violence-free campus by issuing ministry regulation regarding sexual policy in public university. Inshallah, this the third collaboration is also will be issued soon. What is the challenge that we hope that we face when we try to fulfill women's rights in Indonesia in case of sexual violence at university? First, not all universities have rules regarding the prevention and handling of sexual violence. So violations are often equated with other ethical violations. Perpetrators take advantage of the victim vulnerability, dependency, and trust in him, because majority male, the perpetrator. Not all leaders have a perspective of justice for the victim. They sometimes do ignorance and denial. And many victims choose silence and sexual violence often associated with disgrace, something that must be covered. This is challenge that faced by Komnas Perempuan, and I think also faced by the women activists at university. The last slide is recommendation how to strengthening culture and system violence-free campus. First, campus conduct a victim recovery, psychological, legal, and also medical and religious recovery. And also, campus must have systemic policies related to preventing and handling sexual violence. Campus also create a culture of zero violence, emphasizing the values of religious belief on non-sexual harassment. Campus provide action to perpetrator. Also, campus are expected to cooperate with relevant service institution and also conducting monitoring and evaluation of preventing handling of sexual violence. I think that's all my presentation. Thank you very much. Stop violence on campus right now, and we can discuss in detail. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning and healthy for everybody.
Thank you very much, Prof. Halimatul Kirtia. for very interesting presentation. And I believe some of our participants already got questions for you. So anyone want to ask Prof. Alimatul? You may raise hand or write down on the chat. Okay, I already have one question for you, Prof. From Ibu Umi Oktiari from Umri. How to get the data that sexual violence mostly happen in campus? What are the indicators of sexual violence? Please, Prof. You may answer the first question first.
Okay, excuse me, maybe I little bit got a bad signal. What is the indicator?
Okay.
Question? Can you repeat?
How to get the data that sexual violence? Yeah. Let me read the question for you.
Yes.
How to get the data that sexual violence mostly happen in campus? What are the indicators of sexual violence?
Okay, yeah, I got
Yes,
it from
Prof.
chat as well.
Yep.
Yeah, from Ibu Umi Oktari Ratnaningsih, ya, Unri. Okay,
Yes.
thank you very much for the question. How to get the data that sexual violence mostly happen in campus? The data that I present is the data that report directly to Komnas Perempuan. Yeah, so the case who report to Komnas Perempuan, so we get data from the victim who report to Komnas Perempuan. However, in most university under Gender for Studies, yeah, PSGA, they also conduct research survey that indicate that sexual violence is happen at university. And what are the indicators of sexual violence? Sexual violence, according to the bill of sexual violence bill, is there are 9 types of sexual violence. But according to the draft from the Ministry of Education, there are around 20 types of sexual violence. Yeah, there are 20 types, from the verbal and also psychology, rape, yeah, and also the other sexual type. So maybe if the ministerial decree issued, we can discuss again what is the 20 type of sexual violence that have to be paid attention by us in university. Yeah, hopefully will be issued soon, because I'm also involved in the discussion of the draft. So and it's done, and we just wait for the Mas Menteri to sign the decree, ministerial decree, yeah, relating to the prevention and handling of sexual violence.
Thank you, Prof. We are waiting for the good news from you. Okay, we still have other questions from Ibu Zulfa from Universitas Gajah Mada. Let me read the question for you. Regarding the on-campus violence-free program, does this program touch on hidden violence that lecturers can do to students? Sometimes the difference in power relations between lecturers and students causes students to remain silent for fear of impacting graduation. So how does Komnas Perempuan anticipate this?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question, yeah, about the hidden violence, yeah. Hidden violence that sometimes it's happen and there are power relation, yeah. There are power relation related to the sexual violence. As we know, in some cases that reported to Komnas Perempuan, if we're talking about sexual violence, is always try to find the time very private. It's not in public life, yeah. So it seems like hidden, yeah, like hidden violence, because it's in the private and nobody knows, only the two of them, yeah. And yeah, I think the zero violence at campus is including the hidden violence, yeah, not always relating to physical and verbal violence, but also something that, yeah, for example, to get signed the thesis, or maybe yeah, some other occasion or some other cases. Sometimes because of the power relation, the student cannot do anything, yeah. So that's why in the case of power relation, we have to empower the student to have good assertive communication, to say no, to speak up, yeah, and also to report their cases to the services like Komnas Perempuan or other social services around the campus.
Yep, students have to be brave. Speak up, speak up. Okay, Prof Min, before you ask the question, let me read one question from the chat box. Is it okay, Prof Min? Okay, then I will give you time for us directly to Prof Alim. Okay, from Ibu Astrida Fitri Nuryani, Universitas Brawijaya. Dear esteemed speakers, I conducted research in 2018 about a highly profiled sexual assault case against as a student in a prestigious state university in Indonesia. What methods do you think will work in strengthening the support against survivors in university environment? What kind of networks do you think are necessary in combating these problems?
Okay. Yeah, if we're talking about the prevention and handling of sexual violence at university, there are some strategy that we have to do, we have to choose. First of all, how to have a protection, yeah, to the victim, and giving the recovery. Yeah, recovery is not only psychologically, but might be they need medis, also laws, yeah, legal, yeah, and also maybe religion, and try to talk to the victim that don't feel that they are like very dirty, or maybe like their life is done. No, we try to empower the victim, yeah, with many ways, psychologically, religious, and also maybe if we need, for example, rape, yeah, we need medis and also legal, yeah. And the second one is the perpetrator, yeah. We cannot just go let him go, yeah. We have to catch him, the perpetrator, yeah, pelaku, ya, to make what they said, jera apa ya, don't do it again, ya. So to be other people will learn that if they do something like this, and then they will catch, and then there is punishment from the university. And the third one, I think we have to strengthening the systemic rules at the university. And the fourth is the commitment of the leader at university, yeah, the commitment of the leader at university, because right now in current days, in 1 and 2 days, we also have report from one university. They don't involve Center for Human Studies. They just try to handle the case by themselves, because of the perpetrator is one of the colleague from the leader. So this is something very difficult, yeah, sometimes in certain cases to handle this problem. I think that's Ibu Foni.
Yeah, punishment, yeah, yeah, social sanction, yeah. Okay, let's we go to Prof. Min. You have a question to Prof. Alimatul. Prof.
Okay.
Min, please.
Okay, thanks. Mbak siapa? Mbak Rina?
Mbak Lin.
Moderator? Okay. If no one asks, I'll ask, yeah. We know women's right is human rights. In fact, society still think woman is the second creation. So woman right is also the second right. Until now, violence against women remains high. Your data expose it. And the roots of the gender violence, you have already saw it, blah, 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 1, 2, 3, and so on. We don't realize that the strongest root is religious interpretation, and belief. Praise women under men. Religious leader always teach us Christian, I'm a Christian, Catholic, also Hindu, Islam, that women must submit to men, otherwise they will go to hell. Oh, wow. What do you opinion about it? Please, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Prof. Min. Very important question, yeah, relating to the religious interpretation who always put women as second human being or under men or less privileged, less right than men. What we are going to do with this? Particularly relating to the creation, human creation, yeah. I think we cannot denial, that the religious influence in the interpretation of religion is very influential factor to the Indonesian community. Based on research, around 94%, I think, 94% Indonesian people believe that religion is very powerful to influence their life. So that's why we have to also work using the religion, with moderate and progressive interpretation. As I mentioned in one of my slides, for example, we try to promote that men and women were created from the same essence based on Quran Surat An-Nisa number 1, for example. So we try to criticize that women was created from man. This is not true. This is not true. Because in Islamic tradition, the hadith, the Prophet Muhammad saying that women created from man is when he is talking on marriage, not talking about the women creation. So relating to how we treat our partner wisely, I think that we have to do many work relating to the women have to submit to men because of the textual interpretation that relate to the Quran and Hadith in the Islamic tradition, for example. Muslim feminists try to promote that the Hadith who said that if the same creature can obey to other creature, so I instruct that woman, our wife, obedient to husband, for example. So then we try to criticize this text, that this text is do'if. Do'if is weak. And Hasan mean only one narrator. It means we cannot use the hadith as one of the reference to legitimate that women have to obey to men. There are many verses and hadiths who mention that men and women are equal. Men and women are the same Khalifah, the same leader in the earth. Men and women are encouraged to do public, not only private for women, for example. So I think that's my idea, that we have to promote the moderate and progressive interpretation from all religion. Yeah, from all religion. And I believe that all religion, yeah, have the equal interpretation, equal right to men and women. Depend on how we try to work on that certain verses and then give some new interpretation. Thank you, Prof.
Thank
Min.
you very much. Yeah, thank you very much, Prof. Alimatul. We agree that men and women created from the same substance to create prosperity, as I quote in your paper. Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are come to the end of the session. So please give a big applause to Prof. Alimatul and also for all of us. I believe that some participants still have question for you, Prof. You may read in the chat box, and for the participant who want to continue discuss with Prof. Alimatul, you may contact her directly. I believe she will be very grateful to answer all of your questions. So again, I would like to thank you for your invaluable contribution during the discussion. This session, I believe that we gain many benefit from this discussion, and your participation are really greatly appreciated. So thank you very much again. I'm Fonida Mutiara as the moderator. Thank you very much. Robbie, I will take over to you.
Thank you, Ibu Foni. We would like to thank all of our keynote speakers for their insightful presentation today. Please welcome the head of the Center of the Gender, Children, and Family Studies Universitas Andalas, Dr. Jendrius, to present the virtual certificates as a symbolic gesture to our keynote speakers, Professor Hiraishi Noriko and Professor Alimatul Kiptia.
Atau Pak To, sorry ini untuk oke.
Okay, we apologize. We have some technical issues. Can you please wait? While we are waiting, we are inviting Professor Hiraishi Noriko and Professor Alimatul Kiptia. And here with us, we already with Dr. Jendrius. Okay, Professor Hiraishi and Professor Alimatul Kiptia, thank you so much for your valuable contribution for this conference. This award, a certificate for you.
Okay, thank you so much, Prof. Raisi.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm very honored.
Yeah, thank you, Prof. Alimato.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Well, we are here with Dr. Jendrius. We also want to present the virtual certificate to our two moderators for the plenary sessions, Insinyur Mutia Fadila Fakhrudin and Foni Indah Mutiara, PhD.
Thank you so much for the extraordinary our moderators, Ibu Mutia Fadila Fakhrudin and Mrs. Foni Mutiara. Thank you so much for your contributions. This certificate for you.
Thank you, Pak Jen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Jen.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Jendrius. Thank you, keynote speakers and moderators. Distinguished guests, speakers, and participants, this marks the end of our plenary sessions. We will now go to parallel session. Please join your respective rooms. Please return to this main room after the end of your session. We will start the closing ceremony at 3:15 p.m. There will be Best Presenters Award and closing remarks by Dr. Jendrius. Your presence will be very much appreciated. Now all the presenters, moderators can directly go to the parallel session room. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much all. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Terima kasih semua.